He only stepped out to collect shopping carts, but fate was waiting between the rows of parked cars. It was a humid Thursday afternoon, and the grocery store parking lot shimmered under the sun. Liam Harper, a quiet 26-year-old grocery clerk with a kind heart and a simple life, stepped outside to gather the scattered shopping carts. His faded name tag hung slightly crooked on his green apron, and his hair stuck slightly to his forehead from the heat. As usual, no one paid much attention to him, and he liked it that way. He maneuvered a chain of carts toward the cart corral when a sudden high-pitched baby cry pierced the air. His eyes darted toward the far side of the lot, where a woman was struggling beside a beat-up old minivan. She was crouched over, trying to hold a crying infant in a carrier while picking up spilled groceries that had tumbled from a torn paper bag. Her ponytail was falling loose, her shirt slightly stained. Exhaustion practically radiated from her posture. Liam didn't think. He just moved. "Hey, need a hand?" he called as he jogged over. The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes, a striking shade of hazel, were wide with embarrassment, maybe even fear. I, I'm okay, I think. Just..." But before she could finish, Liam was already helping her gather apples that had rolled under a car and securing the baby carrier into the stroller base. The baby, still fussing, quieted a little as Liam made silly faces and softly hummed. He wasn't exactly a baby expert, but something about the child's wide eyes and trembling lip tugged at him. "Thanks," the woman finally said, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "It's just been a day." "I can tell," Liam said with a soft laugh. "You sure you're okay?" She nodded, but her smile was faint. "Yeah, just a long week, I guess. I'm Emma, by the way." "Liam," he replied. "Nice to meet you, Emma. And who's this little boss?" Emma gave a tired chuckle. "This is Ava. She's 7 months old, and she's convinced she runs the world." Liam smiled. "I believe it." As they talked for another moment, Liam noticed her glancing nervously around. Not like someone hiding from the police, more like someone hoping not to be seen. He didn't ask questions, but the unease lingered in the back of his mind. A black luxury limousine sat quietly across the parking lot, engine humming, windows tinted too dark to see through. Inside, a man in a crisp navy suit watched the scene unfold. His gaze was steady, lips tight, expression unreadable. He didn't step out, not yet. He simply watched, his eyes never leaving the woman and the grocery clerk beside her child. Emma had no idea. Liam didn't either. But from that moment forward, none of their lives would ever be the same. A coffee offered out of kindness turned into hours of conversation neither expected. The next day, Liam was finishing his shift when he noticed the same minivan parked outside again. He paused for a moment, heart skipping a beat. A part of him wondered if she'd come to return something, or if she'd even remember him at all. He told himself not to overthink it. But when he stepped outside, there she was, Emma, holding 2 coffees and wearing a shy smile. "I figured you might need this," she said, extending one of the cups. "Least I could do after yesterday." Liam smiled, taking the cup. "Thanks, you didn't have to." "I know," she replied softly, "but I wanted to." They sat together on a bench just outside the store, an awkward spot near the carts, but shaded and quiet enough for a real conversation. Ava slept in the stroller beside them, her tiny hand curled around a stuffed animal that had clearly seen better days. "What made you stop?" Emma asked after a while. "Most people would have just kept walking." Liam shrugged. "I don't know. Just seemed like you needed help. And maybe I knew what that felt like." She looked at him curiously. "I was raised by a single mom," Liam continued. "She worked 3 jobs. I learned early how to do my own laundry and cook my own pasta. Sometimes people helped. Most didn't." Emma nodded slowly. "Same, except my mom wasn't around much. It's been just me and Ava since the day she was born." Their shared silence wasn't awkward. It felt grounding, like 2 pieces of a puzzle quietly acknowledging they belonged to the same box. Emma's gaze wandered occasionally, as if scanning for someone or something, but each time she brought her focus back to Liam. He didn't press her. He didn't need answers to see her weariness. Over the next few days, they began meeting more often. Coffee became their unspoken tradition. Liam would sometimes come out a few minutes early just to see if she was there. When she wasn't, he'd feel the absence like a dull echo. When she was, time passed too quickly. One afternoon, he helped carry her groceries to the van again. This time, Ava was laughing, giggling wildly as Liam made goofy sounds while unloading the bags. Emma laughed too, and the sound was like sunlight breaking through thick clouds. "Thank you," she said again, but this time her voice trembled a little. "For what?" he asked. "For seeing me. Not just the mess, or the exhaustion, or the baby. Me." He didn't know what to say, so he just smiled and said, "Anytime." Across the lot, the limousine returned. But this time, it didn't park close. It stayed near the exit, watching, waiting. The man inside made no move, but his eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched, and his fingers drummed impatiently on the leather armrest. Liam had no idea the clock had already started ticking, and the life he was slowly building was sitting on borrowed time. Her past wasn't just heavy. It had a name, a face, and wealth beyond imagining. Liam noticed the change before Emma said anything. She was quieter that week, her eyes more distant, her posture tighter. She still came to the store and still brought him coffee, but her smiles were thinner. Something was shifting, and though she tried to hide it, Liam could feel the walls going up again. One afternoon, as they sat outside beneath a graying sky, Liam finally asked gently, "Is everything okay?" Emma hesitated. Ava was asleep again in the stroller, and the sounds of a nearby delivery truck offered some cover. She looked down at her hands and took a long breath. "I haven't told you everything," she said. "I've wanted to, but I didn't know how." "You don't have to," Liam said quickly. "If it's not something you—" "No, I do, because it's starting to feel wrong not to." Her voice shook as she began. "I wasn't always living like this. I used to be engaged. His name is Damien Calder." She paused, watching for a reaction. Liam didn't show one. He didn't recognize the name. Emma half smiled. "That's because you're not from his world. The Calder family owns half the city skyline. Hotels, private airports, tech companies. If it makes money, they own a piece of it." Liam blinked. "You were with him." "I was, until I got pregnant." She went on. "Damien was powerful, magnetic, and at first she thought he genuinely cared. But when she told him about Ava, something changed. Control replaced charm. He wanted her to sign documents, contracts, NDA agreements, even a plan to have nannies raise the baby so Emma could focus on her appearance and public role. It felt less like becoming a mother and more like selling her child into a luxury prison. So one night, she left. No warning, no goodbye. She took what little she could fit into her old car and disappeared. "I didn't want Ava growing up as a bargaining chip," she said, her voice breaking. "I wanted her to have a chance to be loved freely, not managed." Liam sat in stunned silence. "And now?" he asked softly. Emma's gaze drifted toward the street. "He's looking for me. I've seen his people. I thought maybe I was just being paranoid at first, but then—" Her voice faded. Then Liam remembered the limousine, the man who never got out, always watching. "He's here?" Liam asked. Emma nodded slowly. "He doesn't just want Ava. He wants control, and he won't stop until he gets it." For the first time, Liam felt fear, not for himself, but for her, for Ava, for the fragile, quiet world they were trying to create on grocery store benches and shared coffee cups. "I should have told you sooner," Emma said. "I'm glad you did," he replied. "And I'm not going anywhere." She looked up, eyes glassy. "You might not have a choice." But Liam knew better. Love, he realized, wasn't just about romance or attraction. Sometimes it was about showing up, especially when danger started knocking. And now danger had a name, and it was closer than either of them wanted to believe. When truth surfaced, it didn't ask for permission. It shattered what they thought was safe. It happened on a rainy afternoon. Liam was helping a customer load a trunk when he saw the black limousine again, this time parked directly in front of the store's exit, as if it had claimed the space like a predator crouched outside a rabbit hole. A tall, broad-shouldered man stepped out. His dark suit was sharp, his hair slicked back, and his umbrella held by someone else. He didn't even carry his own shield from the rain. Damien called her. Emma froze the moment she saw him. She was exiting the store with Ava in her arms, a small umbrella in one hand, groceries in a tote bag slung over her shoulder. The smile she had worn for Liam just seconds ago vanished. Her entire body stiffened. Damien's gaze locked onto her like a guided missile. He walked forward slowly, measured steps. No shouting, no running, just quiet, cold power in every move. "Emma," he said smoothly, his voice deep and steady, "I've been patient." "Stay away," she whispered, her arms tightening protectively around Ava. "You think hiding in discount motels and backstreet apartments is giving her a better life?" he asked, voice calm but laced with venom. "She deserves the world. You're just afraid." "She deserves to be free," Emma shot back. That's when Liam appeared beside her, soaking wet, fist clenched, unsure of what to say but unwilling to stand aside. Damien glanced at him. "Ah, the clerk." His tone dripped with disdain. "Is this your protector now?" "I'm whatever she needs me to be," Liam said. Damien didn't laugh. He only stared. "I don't want to do this here," Emma said. "You're scaring people." "You should have thought of that before you took what's mine," Damien hissed, dropping the mask of charm. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to take my daughter." "She's not a trophy," Liam snapped. Security was called. A manager approached nervously, unsure what to make of the scene. Damien didn't resist. He backed off, but not before slipping a white card into Emma's tote bag. "You have 1 week," he said. "Then lawyers get involved. And next time, I won't be alone." He stepped back into the limo, and just like that, he was gone. But the damage lingered. Emma didn't speak on the drive back to her motel. Liam followed behind in his old car just to make sure she made it safely. She looked out the window the whole way, not even acknowledging the tears streaming down her cheeks. When they parked, Liam walked her to her door. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. "I already dragged you into this," she replied. "He'll come after anyone who stands beside me." "Let him." Emma looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since Damien showed up. "You don't know what he's capable of." Liam gave her a soft but steady look. "Then maybe it's time he found out what we're capable of." Inside the dark limousine still circling the block, Damien watched from behind tinted glass and smiled. When the world closes in, even love can feel like a luxury you can't afford. The motel room was quiet, dimly lit by a flickering lamp near the window. Ava was finally asleep after hours of fussy crying, sensing somehow the tension her mother tried so hard to mask. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, staring blankly at the business card Damien had left in her bag. It was plain white, no logo, no phone number. Just an address scribbled on the back and a time. She knew what it meant. He wanted to negotiate, or intimidate, or both. Liam was sitting on a wooden chair across the room watching her. He hadn't said much since they'd arrived. His presence was quiet, respectful, steady, but she could feel his concern radiating like heat. "I don't know what to do," she finally said, voice barely above a whisper. "You don't have to decide tonight," Liam replied gently. Emma shook her head. "That's not true. If I wait, he'll act. He'll file for full custody. He'll drag me into courtrooms filled with lawyers wearing $1,000 suits and judges who care more about paperwork than a mother's heart." She ran a hand through her hair. "And I'll lose her." Liam leaned forward. "You won't. We'll fight." "We?" she interrupted, her voice sharp. "Liam, you barely know me. This isn't your battle." He opened his mouth but couldn't find the words. Emma stood and began to pace, her movements restless and filled with an invisible weight. "You're kind, Liam. Probably too kind for someone like me. I'm a mess. I'm living in a motel. My ex is a billionaire control freak, and I brought a child into this chaos." She paused, looking directly at him. "You should walk away, while you still can." But Liam didn't budge. "I'm not leaving," he said. Her eyes flickered with something like anger, but beneath it, fear. Deep, exhausted fear. "I don't want to lose you too," she whispered. He stood now, crossing the room to her. "Then don't push me away." "But I'm scared, Liam, of what happens if I let you in, and then everything falls apart anyway." He nodded slowly. That's what makes it real. That fear. That's love, Emma. It's not perfect or painless. It's terrifying, but it's worth it. Her lips parted as if to argue, but nothing came out. Instead, she leaned into him. Her head rested against his chest, and for a moment, she just breathed. In, outside, in, outside, like she hadn't let herself in weeks. Outside, rain tapped gently on the motel window. A storm was building, not in the sky, but in the lives they were trying so desperately to hold together. And while Liam stayed silent, he couldn't help but wonder, was love enough to stand against a man who had everything? Sometimes hope doesn't knock. It slips quietly through the cracks when you least expect it. The next morning, sunlight poured through the thin motel curtains, golden and warm. It painted everything with a quiet glow, the kind that made even a broken room feel like home for a moment. Emma stirred to the sound of soft giggling. Ava was awake, sitting upright in her portable crib, playing with her favorite stuffed animal. The sight made Emma smile, truly smile, for the first time in days. She turned to see Liam, already dressed, quietly preparing breakfast with the motel's tiny microwave. He looked up and grinned. "Good morning. I borrowed some cereal cups from the store last night before they expired." Emma sat up, brushing her hair back and blinking sleep from her eyes. "You stayed?" Liam shrugged. Didn't feel right to leave. Just slept in the chair. Emma studied him. Tall, warm, real. A simple grocery clerk who had stepped into her storm without flinching. She had pushed him away last night, and yet here he was. Still. She got up, walked over, and placed her hand lightly on his arm. "Thank you," she said softly. He met her gaze, and for a second, no words were needed. Later that day, something unexpected happened. Emma's phone buzzed with an email from a nonprofit legal group that supported single mothers. One of the grocery store regulars, Mrs. Kavanaugh, had overheard a bit of what was going on and sent a referral. "They help women in custody battles against powerful men," Emma read aloud, stunned. "They've won cases against CEOs and even state politicians." Liam's eyes lit up. That's something. That's hope. Emma wasn't used to people standing up for her. Most stepped aside, many judge. But now, with Liam beside her and strangers rooting for her, she started to believe she could stand her ground. That evening, Liam took them somewhere special, a quiet hill outside town. They brought fast food and spread it out on the hood of his beat-up car. Ava laughed as she sat between them, sharing tiny bites. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, Liam turned to Emma. "I don't know what tomorrow brings," he said, "but I know I want to be part of it. Yours, Ava's. Whatever comes." Emma blinked back sudden tears. "You might regret saying that once things get ugly." He smiled. "I'd regret not saying it more." For the first time, she let herself lean on someone without fear, not because the danger had passed, but because someone was finally willing to face it with her. And in the distance, high in a tower downtown, Damien Calder stared at a photograph his investigator had sent. Emma, Liam, and Ava under a dusky sky, smiling like they had already won. He crushed the picture in his hand. "This ends soon?" he growled. But Emma didn't know that. All she knew was that, for the first time in forever, she wasn't alone. Love isn't loud. It's spoken in quiet promises, whispered when no one else is listening. A few days later, they sat together on the motel bed, the late-night hush broken only by the sound of Ava breathing softly in her crib. Liam had brought her a single cupcake from the bakery aisle, complete with a crooked candle. He remembered it was her birthday. Emma had forgotten, or maybe she had chosen not to remember. But when he lit the candle and handed it to her without a word, something cracked open inside her. "No one's done that for me in years," she said, half laughing, half choking on emotion. Liam simply replied, "Get used to it." They talked long into the night, not about Damien, not about court or threats or what-ifs, but about dreams, about what Emma used to love as a kid, how she always wanted to live near the ocean, how Liam had once been accepted into a community college for writing, but dropped out when his dad got sick. They shared stories, silences, glances that lingered a little longer than before. Finally, as the room grew quiet again, Emma whispered, "What happens if he wins?" Liam turned to her. Then we fight harder. And if I break, then I'll carry you until you can stand again. She looked down, then back up. Why, Liam? Why are you really here? He didn't hesitate. Because I love her, and I'm starting to love you. Emma's breath caught. You don't have to say anything back, he added. I needed you to know. Because I'm not here for the drama or for pity. I'm here for the two of you. All of it. Emma reached over, took his hand in hers and pressed it gently to her heart. Then promise me something. Anything. Promise me that no matter how messy this gets, no matter how scared I get, you won't walk away. He squeezed her hand, eyes steady and voice low. I promise. I'm all in. Outside, the motel sign buzzed softly in the night. Cars passed on the road beyond, chasing destinations and dreams. But inside that little room, a promise was made. Not with rings or grand gestures, but with quiet truth, spoken between two people brave enough to care. Neither of them noticed Ava roll slightly in her crib, her tiny hand reaching out in sleep, like she too was holding on. Sometimes joy tiptoes in when life's still a mess, and suddenly you remember how to breathe again. It started with laughter. Not the forced kind, not the kind you fake to make someone feel better. Real laughter, uncontrolled, sudden, and impossible to ignore. It happened 3 days later, at the community park near the outskirts of town. Emma had hesitated to go, worried that Damien might somehow be watching, waiting, but Liam insisted, and after days of stress and motel walls closing in, she agreed. Ava was toddling across the grass with wobbly determination, clutching her favorite purple sippy cup in one hand and Liam's finger in the other. Emma trailed behind, smiling cautiously. Then it happened. Liam tripped, not on purpose, not gracefully. He genuinely caught his foot on a hidden tree root and went down with a loud, dramatic oof, landing face first in the grass. Ava squealed with joy. Emma burst out laughing. It wasn't polite or quiet. It was loud, unfiltered. The kind of laugh that steals your breath, leaves your cheeks flushed, and makes people nearby turn their heads in curiosity. Liam rolled over, grinning. That was absolutely to entertain the baby. Emma covered her mouth, still laughing. Right, sure, you planned the faceplant. I own that fall, he said, brushing leaves out of his hair. Total performance. She sat on the grass beside him, knees pulled to her chest as Ava stumbled toward a patch of dandelions. The tension that had clung to Emma for weeks had eased, just slightly. It was in the way her shoulders relaxed, the way her smile lingered even after the moment passed. For once, she didn't feel like a woman on the run. She felt like a woman living. I forgot what this feels like, she murmured. Liam turned to her. What? To just exist without looking over my shoulder, to see my daughter happy in sunlight, to laugh. He didn't say anything, just reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You deserve 1,000 more days like this, he whispered. They sat together in silence, Ava dancing in circles nearby, chasing nothing and everything. Emma rested her head lightly on Liam's shoulder. Then her phone buzzed. For a second, her heart clenched. Was it Damien? But it wasn't. It was an update from the legal group. Her case had been officially accepted. Pro bono. They would be representing her in the upcoming hearing. Her breath caught. She showed Liam the message. This changes everything. He nodded slowly. Yeah, it does. Ava ran up, dirt on her knees, giggling wildly. She held up a squashed bouquet of dandelions. Emma took them like they were gold. And in that moment, surrounded by grass stains, silly falls, and soft hope, she realized something. Joy had returned. Not because life was perfect, but because someone had stood beside her long enough for her to remember she still deserved it. True love isn't proven in perfect days, but in the storms it survives. The court date was set. 3 weeks. That's all the time Emma had to prepare for a legal battle against Damien Calder, a man with unlimited money, lawyers, and an ego that didn't tolerate rejection. The joyful days at the park felt like a distant dream now. As deadlines approached, the pressure built. The lawyer from the nonprofit, a kind but sharp woman named Dana Walsh, met with Emma every other day at a local cafe, walking her through legal forms, affidavits, and witness statements. Emma did her best to stay focused, but the weight of it all pressed harder each day. Ava sensed the tension too. Her giggles became less frequent, her tantrums more sudden. The motel room shrank around them, and even Liam's calm presence couldn't always keep the anxiety at bay. Liam had taken extra shifts at the store just to cover Emma's expenses. He never complained, but his exhaustion was visible in the shadows beneath his eyes. Still, he brought her coffee each morning and held Ava in his arms every night until she slept. But love was being tested. One evening, Emma broke. She sat at the small motel table, holding a printed letter from Damien's legal team, a custody motion that painted her as unstable, reckless, and unfit. It was filled with twisted truths and weaponized lies. She stared at the paper until her hands trembled. "I can't fight this," she whispered. Liam turned from the sink, drying a bowl. "Yes, you can." "No," she said louder now. "You don't get it. This is his world. He knows judges. He has reporters in his pocket. I'm just a single mom who lives in a motel." She stood up and walked across the room, pacing like a caged animal. "This whole thing was stupid. You helping me? Me thinking I had a chance? Emma, I'm dragging you into this mess, and for what? A fantasy that someone like me gets a happy ending?" Liam stepped forward. "Don't do that. Don't tear yourself down to make Damien's lies sound like truth." Her eyes filled with tears. "What if I lose her, Liam?" He was silent for a moment, then said the one thing she hadn't allowed herself to believe. "Then we start over, and we fight again, and again, until we win." Emma turned away, shoulders shaking. He walked to her, pulled her close, and held her tightly. "You're not alone. Not now. Not ever." She sobbed quietly into his chest. Outside, wind pushed against the window. A summer storm was rolling in, but inside, amid fear and doubt, something still held strong, like a beam in a crumbling house refusing to snap. And though the days ahead promised more pain, more uncertainty, one truth remained. They were still standing. Together. Every ending opens a door, but it takes courage to step through it without knowing what lies beyond. The courtroom was colder than Emma expected, not in temperature but in atmosphere, quiet, sterile, and painfully impersonal. She sat at the long table beside Dana, her lawyer, heart hammering in her chest. On the opposite side sat Damien Calder, flawless in a tailored navy suit, flanked by two attorneys and an air of superiority so thick it suffocated the room. Liam was there too, not seated, not hidden. He stood behind her, firm, calm, hands clasped in front of him, like a silent declaration that he wasn't going anywhere. The judge, a stern-faced woman named Judge Morales, entered, and the room rose. The hearing began. Damien's team went first. Their arguments were polished, full of technical jargon and twisted versions of the truth. They presented Emma as unstable, citing her motel stay, lack of steady income, and erratic personal decisions. They didn't say Liam's name, but they alluded to him, calling him a non-family male companion with no legal standing in the child's life. Emma's stomach clenched. Then it was Dana's turn, and what came next shocked even Emma. She didn't start with defense, she started with offense. She revealed through legal discovery a pattern of intimidation tactics Damien had used on previous women, including sealed settlements and confidentiality agreements. Dana had tracked down an ex-nanny willing to testify, anonymously, about Damien's volatile temper and manipulative behavior. Emma sat frozen, listening, and when she was called to speak, she told her truth. Not with anger, not with tears, with honesty. "I may not have wealth," she said, voice shaking slightly, "but I have loved my daughter with everything I have. Every choice I've made, every sacrifice. It's been for her safety and her happiness. I am not perfect, but I am a mother, and I will not let fear decide her future." The courtroom was silent. Hours passed. Witnesses came and went. The day dragged like a storm cloud, heavy and unpredictable. Finally, after closing statements, Judge Morales said she would need time to review and deliver a decision. 2 days later, the email came. Emma stood outside the motel, phone in hand, hands trembling. Liam watched from the doorway, holding Ava. She read the words twice before whispering, "We won." He blinked. "What?" "We won, Liam. The judge denied full custody. Damien only gets supervised visitation. Ava stays with me." Liam stared for a moment, then pulled her into his arms. She laughed, loud and free, and hugged him back as Ava clapped from his arms, unaware but delighted by the joy around her. Later that evening, Liam surprised them with keys. "To what?" she asked. "To home," he smiled. He had quietly signed a lease for a small house just outside town. A backyard for Ava, a real kitchen for Emma, and a door with their names on it. It wasn't fancy, but it was theirs. A new beginning, not born from perfection, but from the kind of love that refuses to give up, on people, on dreams, or on each other. Sometimes love isn't about what you give, but what you're willing to give up. The days that followed felt like a dream. Sunlight poured through their little house each morning. Emma started a part-time job at a local daycare that welcomed Ava too. Liam took fewer shifts, finally resting more. Peace began to settle into their lives, cautious but real, until the letter came. A plain envelope, no return address, just a court seal stamped in red. Emma opened it slowly, seated at the kitchen table while Liam played with Ava on the living room floor. Her face paled as she read. "What is it?" Liam asked, voice tightening as he saw her expression shift. "It's Damien," she whispered. "He filed an appeal, and this time he's claiming I used your relationship to manipulate the court. He's accusing me of fraud." Liam stood. That's ridiculous. We followed every rule, every form." "He's going after you now," Emma interrupted. "He's saying you're dangerous, that you pressured me, that you bribed witnesses." Liam blinked, stunned. "But that's—" "I know," she said, "but he's got money and power and spite." Silence settled. The appeal meant more hearings, more stress, more attention. But worse, it put Liam directly in Damien's line of fire. His record, his job, his reputation, everything could be targeted. That night, Liam sat outside on the porch steps alone, staring at the stars. Emma joined him quietly. He didn't look at her, just said, "I can fix this." "No," she whispered, "don't say it. If I leave, if I distance myself officially, you and Ava won't look like a threat. He has no angle. He'll lose interest. And you think I'd be okay with that?" "I think," he said slowly, "that I'd rather be gone and know you're safe than stay and risk losing you both." Tears welled in her eyes. "Liam," he finally looked at her, "this isn't giving up. It's giving you a future, one that isn't built on courts and fear." She shook her head. "You're my future too." But Liam only smiled, sad and soft. "Then wait for me." The next morning, Emma woke to find his things gone. No note, no goodbye, just a voicemail sent at 3:16 a.m. "Tell Ava I love her. Tell her I'll always be rooting for her. And you, Emma, you were the light I didn't know I needed. I'm not disappearing. I'm just stepping out of the storm. So you can walk forward without shadows." She clutched the phone to her chest and wept. The days after were hard. The court date came and went. This time, Damien's case fell apart without the angle he'd hoped for. Emma won again, fully, legally, completely. But Liam wasn't there, and every corner of the house reminded her of what he'd given up so she and Ava could breathe freely. That was his gift, his sacrifice. And though her heart ached, she also felt something stronger than grief: gratitude. Because real love doesn't always hold tight. Sometimes it lets go, just to protect what it cherishes most. Let me know when you're ready for the final part. Closure doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it enters like a quiet song you didn't know your heart was waiting to hear. A year passed. Emma and Ava moved on, quietly. The house grew into a home. Ava learned new words, new games, and how to sleep through the night without asking, "Where's Mr. Liam?" Though sometimes she still asked, and Emma's heart ached. Emma had found work at a nearby elementary school as a classroom assistant. She loved it. For the first time in her life, she felt steady, not rich, not invincible, but strong. She'd built something from the ashes and it stood tall. And yet some nights she still sat on the porch, wondering if Liam ever thought of them. One crisp autumn afternoon, She took Ava to the annual harvest festival. The town square was alive with laughter, food stalls and orange leaves twirling like memories in the wind. Ava ran ahead toward the pony rides, squealing with joy. Emma followed, until her breath caught. There across the crowd, standing beside the caramel apple stand, was Liam. Same soft eyes, same gentle posture. Only now he looked different. Older, calmer, braver. He turned and saw her. Neither moved for a moment. The noise of the crowd blurred around them, and then Ava spotted him. "Liam!" she shouted, running full speed. He knelt down, arms open, catching her like no time had passed. He held her for a long, silent minute before lifting his gaze to Emma. "I promised I'd be back," he said softly. Tears stung her eyes. "You always keep your promises." They sat on a bench while Ava ate cotton candy, smiling like nothing had ever gone wrong. "I've been working in Denver," Liam said. "Stayed out of everything. Watched from a distance. But when I heard the case was closed for good, I knew I had to come back." Emma hesitated. "You didn't have to." "I did," he said, "because I never left. Not really. And I need you to know something." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Not a ring, not yet. But inside, a gold chain with a tiny charm shaped like a key. "For the house," he said, "if you'll still have me there." Emma's lip trembled. She didn't say yes with words. She leaned forward and kissed him, gently, like the beginning of a song. Ava clapped again, delighted by something she didn't quite understand. The sun dipped behind the trees, casting golden light across the field. And just like that, the story found its harmony. Not with fireworks, but with peace, with family, and with love that had been tested, stretched, and rebuilt from the pieces, stronger than before.